She was considered infertile. But 4 years later, something happens that no scientist can explain. Emily Thompson left the doctor's office with shaky legs and a shattered heart. The fertility specialist's words echoed in her mind like a final sentence that would change her life forever. "Your ovaries no longer function, Emily. Premature ovarian failure is irreversible at 31, had said Dr. Williams, one of the top specialists in New York City. Your chances of conceiving naturally are 0. Michael, her husband of 7 years, held her hand tightly as they walked down the hospital corridor. He tried to find words of comfort, but he was also in shock. They had been trying to conceive for 3 years, undergoing countless tests and treatments, but they never imagined the diagnosis would be so devastating. In the car, Emily finally broke down. The tears she had held back during the entire appointment poured out uncontrollably. Michael pulled over and hugged her, his own throat tightening with his wife's pain. "I always dreamed of being a mother, Michael," she whispered between sobs. "Ever since I was little, I played with dolls, imagining what it would be like to care for my own child." "We'll find a way, love. This isn't the end," Michael replied, though he himself didn't know how. The following months were the hardest of their lives. Emily, who worked as an elementary school teacher at a private school in the Upper East Side, could barely look at the children without feeling a deep ache in her chest. Every child's laughter during recess was a cruel reminder of what she could never have. Michael, a civil engineer, tried to stay strong for both of them, but he also faced his own grief. He had grown up in a large family with 4 siblings and always imagined having several children. Now, they had to rethink the entire future they had planned together. Visits with family became painful. Emily's mother, Margaret, a 68-year-old woman who lived in Long Island, couldn't hide her frustration. "But there are so many children out there who need a home, dear," she said, unaware that her words, though well-intentioned, stung. "You could adopt." "It's not that simple, Mom," Emily replied, irritated. "I wanted to feel my child grow inside me. I wanted to breastfeed. I wanted—" The conversation always ended in awkward silence. Michael watched as his wife withdrew further from the people she loved, building walls around her wounded heart. After 6 months of grieving, they decided to seek therapy. Their therapist, Dr. Jennifer, helped them process their pain and consider other possibilities. "The grief over biological motherhood is real and valid," she explained during one session. "You need to allow yourselves to go through this process before making any decisions about the future." It was during this period of therapy that Emily began seriously considering adoption. Michael had always been open to the idea, but he respected his wife's need to come to that conclusion on her own. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, a year after the diagnosis, they began the adoption paperwork. The process was long and bureaucratic, but for the first time in months, Emily felt a glimmer of hope growing in her chest. "Maybe this is how it was meant to be," she told Michael as they filled out yet another form. "Maybe our role is to give love to a child who's already in this world and needs a family." Their first visit to Hope Haven, an orphanage in Queens, was transformative. The coordinator, Dorothy, a 62-year-old woman who had dedicated her entire life to caring for orphaned children, welcomed them warmly. "You'll meet some children today, but remember, it's not you who chooses the child, it's the child who chooses you, Mrs." Dorothy explained with a wise smile. The shelter was well kept, with colorful walls and toys scattered along the hallways, but what caught their attention the most were the curious little eyes watching them from afar, shy children who had learned far too soon that not all adults stay. That's when Emily saw Ethan. The 4-year-old boy was sitting alone in the corner of the courtyard, building something with blocks. His blonde hair fell over his focused blue eyes, and there was a quiet determination in his movements that touched Emily's heart instantly. "That's Ethan," Mrs. Dorothy said softly. "He's been with us since he was a baby. He's a very special child, but—" She hesitated. "But what?" Michael asked. "He's very attached to routines and struggles to open up to new people. Several families have been interested, but he's never shown any interest." Emily slowly approached and sat on the floor beside Ethan, She didn't say anything, just watched as he continued his construction. After a few minutes, the boy glanced at her sideways. "It's a house," he whispered, showing his creation. "It's beautiful," Emily replied. "How many bedrooms does it have?" 3. One for Daddy, one for Mommy, and one for me. Emily's heart clenched. "And where are Daddy and Mommy?" Ethan shrugged, going back to his blocks. "I don't know. Mrs. Dorothy said they went to live with God." Throughout the visit, Ethan stayed close to Emily. When it was time to leave, he held her hand. "Will you come back?" he asked, with a vulnerability that broke the couple's hearts. "We will," Emily promised, squeezing his small hand. On the way home, Michael and Emily barely spoke. Both knew something special had happened in that meeting. "He chose you," Michael finally said. "I saw it in his eyes." "I felt it too," Emily admitted. "It's strange, but it was like I always knew he existed." The visits became frequent. Ethan began opening up more, talking about his days, showing drawings, and asking about Emily and Michael's lives. He showed particular interest in Emily's work as a teacher. "You teach kids how to read?" he asked one day, amazed. "I do." "Do you want to learn?" Ethan nodded vigorously. "I want to read stories by myself." It was then that Emily realized her maternal instinct hadn't disappeared with her infertility diagnosis. It was there, intact, waiting for the right child. The adoption process for Ethan took 8 months to finalize. When they could finally bring him home to their 3-bedroom apartment in Westchester, the joy was indescribable. Ethan explored every corner of his new home with wide eyes. When he saw the room they had prepared just for him, with a race car bed and shelves full of books, he turned to Emily with tears in his eyes. "Is this really mine?" "It's yours forever," she replied, kneeling to his level. "Can I call you Mommy now?" The question came as a timid whisper, but it echoed through the apartment like the most important thing Emily had ever heard. "Yes, my love, you can." Ethan threw himself into her arms, and for the first time since her diagnosis, Emily felt whole. The emptiness she had carried in her heart for 2 years was finally being filled, but in a way she had never imagined. The first few months were an adjustment. Ethan had frequent nightmares and needed endless patience and love to feel truly safe. Emily discovered that maternal love didn't depend on 9 months of pregnancy. It grew with every embrace, every bedtime story, every bandage on a scraped knee. Michael turned out to be a natural father, teaching Ethan to ride his bike in Central Park and helping with homework. Weekends became family adventures, visiting zoos, museums, and beaches. "Now we're a real family," Ethan said one day during a picnic in Prospect Park. "We always were," Emily gently corrected. "From the very first day we met." 6 months after Ethan's arrival, they received an unexpected call from Dorothy. "Emily, I need to talk to you about something urgent," she said, her voice filled with concern. The next day, they were back at Hope Haven, this time with Ethan in tow. He loved visiting Dorothy and the other children, always bringing toys or sweets to share. "What happened?" Michael asked as soon as they sat down in the coordinator's office. Dorothy took a deep breath. "2 children arrived yesterday, 3-year-old twins. Their parents died in a car accident a week ago, and they have no other family." Emily's heart clenched. "What does this have to do with us?" "They're completely lost. They won't talk to anyone, won't eat. But this morning, when Ethan arrived..." She paused. It was the first time they reacted to anything. She led them to the courtyard, where Ethan was playing with 2 identical blonde boys. They couldn't have been older than 3, with big, frightened blue eyes, but they were laughing at Ethan's antics. "Their names are Tyler and Mason," Dorothy explained. "They just lost their parents and are deeply traumatized, but look how they are with Ethan." Emily watched the scene with growing emotion. Ethan was being the perfect big brother, caring for the little ones with surprising maturity for his 4 years. "Ethan," she called, "come here for a minute." The boy ran over, the twins following close behind like lost ducklings. "Mommy, they don't have a family," Ethan said with the seriousness of someone who knew that pain. "They're sad like I was before." Emily looked at Michael, whose eyes were already wet with tears. They hadn't planned to adopt again so soon, but how could they ignore this? "What do you think, Ethan?" Michael asked, kneeling to his son's level. "Would you like to have two little brothers?" "Really?" Ethan asked, disbelieving. "If that's what you want," Emily began. "I do, I really do," Ethan shouted, running back to the twins. "Tyler, Mason, do you want to be my brothers?" The two little boys looked at Ethan, then at Emily and Michael. Mason, the braver of the two, stepped forward. "Are you going to be our parents?" he asked in a small voice. "If you want us to," Emily replied, her heart overflowing. Tyler, more timid, slowly approached and took Emily's hand. "Are you going to leave like the others?" The question hit Emily like a punch to the gut. These babies had already lost so many people. "Never," she promised, scooping the little one into her arms. "We're never leaving." The process to adopt the twins was more complicated than Ethan's, involving inheritance issues and proving they could support 3 children. Michael worked overtime, and Emily reduced her hours at school to care for them better. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us so much as we're just starting out. Now continuing. During the 6-month wait, they visited Tyler and Mason every day. Ethan insisted on joining every visit, determined to be the best big brother in the world. "When you come live with us, I'll teach you how to ride a bike," he promised, "and I'll read you bedtime stories." The twins grew more and more attached to the family. Tyler, the quieter one, developed a special fondness for Michael, while Mason clung to Emily. Ethan was the leader of the 3, always coming up with games and protecting the younger ones. Finally, on a rainy Thursday in March, they were able to bring Tyler and Mason home. The apartment had been rearranged once again. Now the 3 boys would share a large bedroom with 3 beds and a toy area. "It's so big," Mason whispered, amazed by the size of the apartment. "And it's our home forever," Ethan said proudly. "Come on, I'll show you where we keep the toys." The twins adjusted faster than Ethan had, mainly because he was there to make it easier. Emily watched in awe as her 3 boys complimented each other. Ethan with his wisdom beyond his years, Mason with his infectious energy, and Tyler with his unique sensitivity. The nights were a symphony of little voices asking for water, sharing nightmares, or simply begging for one more story. Emily and Michael took turns, but they never complained. Every moment was a gift they had never imagined receiving. "Remember when you thought you'd never be a mother?" Michael said one night after the 3 boys had finally fallen asleep. "It feels like another life," Emily replied, leaning against the doorframe of the children's room. "Today, I can't picture our family any other way." 2 years passed in a happy, busy routine. Ethan had started learning to read and helped the twins with motor skills activities. The house was always full of laughter, toys scattered everywhere, and the smell of cookies Emily baked every week. Then, on a Tuesday morning, everything changed again. Emily woke up with intense nausea and rushed to the bathroom. At first, she thought it might be something she'd eaten the night before, but the feeling persisted over the following days. "It's probably stress," she told Michael when he suggested seeing a doctor. 3 little boys are a handful. "Or maybe a bug you picked up at school," Michael agreed. But the nausea didn't improve. Instead, it grew worse every morning. Emily began feeling tired in a different way, a fatigue that didn't go away even with good sleep. "Mom, are you okay?" Ethan asked one day, watching her with concern. "You look sick." "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a little tired." But she wasn't fine. Besides the nausea and exhaustion, her breasts were sore, and she noticed she was more emotionally sensitive. Little things made her cry, like watching the boys play together or hearing a song on the radio. Michael grew worried when she fainted during breakfast one Saturday. The 3 boys were terrified, and Tyler started crying, thinking Mommy was going to live with God like his birth parents. "That's it, Emily. We're going to the hospital now," Michael said, carrying her to the car. "But what about the kids?" "I'll call my mom. She'll come stay with them." At the Mount Sinai Hospital emergency room, Emily was seen by a young doctor who ordered a series of routine tests. She explained her history of infertility. more as a precaution than out of suspicion for anything related. "We'll run some basic tests," Dr. Thompson said. "It could be anything from anemia to a food intolerance." While waiting for the results, Emily and Michael talked about possible changes to her diet. Maybe it was time to see a nutritionist or cut back even more on her workload at school. Dr. Thompson returned an hour later with a puzzled expression on his face. "May I speak with both of you?" he asked, sitting across from the couple. "Of course," Michael replied, holding his wife's hand. "Emily, I'll be direct. The blood test shows you're pregnant, about 12 weeks. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily blinked several times, as if trying to process words in a foreign language. "That's impossible," she finally said. "I have premature ovarian failure. It's in my medical records. I saw your history, which is why I ordered the test to be repeated. The result is the same. You're pregnant." Michael was pale. "Doctor, could there have been a mistake?" "There's no mistake. You can request an ultrasound to confirm, but the beta HCG doesn't lie." Emily began to tremble. "But how?" 5 different doctors confirmed I could never conceive naturally. "Frankly, I can't explain it," Dr. Thompson admitted. "Cases like this are extremely rare. I'll refer you to a gynecology specialist who can study your situation more closely." The drive home was silent. Emily was lost in her thoughts, trying to understand how the impossible had become reality. Michael drove carefully, glancing at his wife from time to time. "What now?" she asked when they arrived at their building. "Now we go upstairs, tell the kids you're okay, and try to process this news," Michael replied. "No, Michael. How are we going to manage with 4 children? The apartment is already too small. The money—" "Emily, breathe. We'll take one thing at a time." Patricia, Michael's mother, greeted them at the door with a worried look. "How is she?" she whispered. "She's fine, Mom. Just tired," Michael lied. "Thank you for watching the boys." "Mommy!" Ethan ran to hug Emily. "You're not going to live with God, right?" "Of course not, sweetheart," she said, holding him close. "Mommy was just a little tired." Tyler and Mason also rushed to hug her, relieved. Seeing her 3 sons so worried made Emily realize how much they loved and depended on her. That night, after the children fell asleep, she and Michael finally talked. "I'm terrified," Emily admitted. "What if I lose the baby? What if there are complications? What if—" "Stop," Michael interrupted, pulling her into his arms. "You're pregnant, Emily. The miracle we thought would never happen is happening. But what about the kids? How do we explain it to them?" "They'll be happy. Ethan always asks if he can have more siblings. I don't want them to think I love them less because I'm pregnant with a biological child." Michael cupped his wife's face in his hands. "Emily, you're an amazing mother. Our children know they're loved. This baby won't change that. It'll just make our family bigger." At the next appointment with Dr. Rebecca, a fertility specialist, the tests not only confirmed the pregnancy, but revealed something even more astonishing. "Your ovaries are functioning normally," she said, showing the results on the computer screen. "It's as if the ovarian failure reversed itself." "Is that possible?" Emily asked. "Theoretically, no. But you're here, pregnant, with healthy ovaries. It's a unique case that needs to be studied." "And the baby? Is everything okay?" "Let's do an ultrasound now to check." The cold gel on her belly and the sound of the machine turning on brought painful memories for Emily. She remembered all the times she'd lain on that table hoping to see something that never appeared. "Here's your baby," the doctor said, pointing to a small spot on the screen. Emily held her breath. There was the proof the impossible had happened. "Wait," the doctor said, moving the transducer. "There's something else here." Emily Thompson's heart raced. "Is something wrong?" "No, nothing wrong. It's 2 babies. You're expecting twins." The world stood still. Michael leaned on the chair, feeling his legs go weak. Emily stared at the screen, unable to speak. "Twins," she finally whispered. "Identical twins," the doctor confirmed, "and from what I can see, they're developing perfectly." In the car, after the appointment, they sat in the parking lot for nearly half an hour without saying a word. "5 kids," Michael finally said. "5 kids," Emily repeated. "Ethan, Tyler, Mason, and now 2 babies. How do we tell them?" "With honesty. They deserve the truth," That night, after dinner, they gathered the three boys in the living room. "Mom and Dad have some news to share," Michael began. "Are we moving?" Ethan asked, worried. "No, sweetheart. We're going to have babies in the family." "Babies?" Mason asked excitedly. "For real?" "For real. Mom is carrying 2 babies in her belly." Tyler, always the most observant, looked at Emily's stomach. "Is that why Mom was feeling sick?" "Exactly. The babies were making her feel that way." Ethan grew thoughtful for a moment. "Will they be our brothers too?" "Of course," Emily said. "You 3 will be the most important big brothers in the world." "Can I teach them how to play with toy cars?" Mason asked. "And can I read them stories?" Ethan added. "What if they cry? Can I help calm them down?" Tyler asked softly. Emily was crying, but this time from joy. "You can help with everything. We'll be a family of 7. 7? Ethan counted on his fingers. "Me, Tyler, Mason, Dad, Mom, and 2 babies. It really is 7. The boys were thrilled by the news. Ethan immediately took on the role of protector of his mother's belly, always asking if the babies were okay. Tyler started whispering to her stomach, telling them about his day. Mason drew pictures for his little siblings who were yet to be born. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The following weeks were an emotional roller coaster. Emily was constantly worried about losing the babies, scheduling bi-weekly checkups to make sure everything was fine. Her case began drawing attention in the medical community. Several specialists wanted to study her history, trying to understand how a confirmed ovarian failure had completely reversed. "We have no scientific explanation," said Dr. Richardson, a reproductive endocrinologist, during one appointment. "There are only 3 similar documented cases in the world, and in all of them, adoption had occurred beforehand." "What does that mean?" Michael asked. "There's a theory, still unproven, that hormonal changes related to stress and later maternal love might influence the reproductive system in ways we don't yet understand." "Are you saying adopting our kids could have caused my pregnancy?" "It's just a hypothesis. The human brain and hormonal system are more complex than we imagine. The important thing is, you're living a miracle." At 5 months pregnant, Emily began feeling the baby's first movements. The joy of finally experiencing what she had dreamed of for so many years made her cry with happiness. "Ethan, come here," she called her eldest. "Put your hand on Mom's belly." The little boy placed his small hand on her round stomach and gasped when he felt a tiny kick. "They're awake," he shouted, calling his brothers. Soon, Tyler and Mason had their hands on her belly too, laughing every time they felt movement. "They already know our voices," Emily said. "That's why they move when you talk." From that day on, every night before bed, the 3 boys took turns talking to the babies. Ethan would talk about school, Tyler would sing lullabies he'd learned from Emily, and Mason would do funny voices that always made the family laugh. At 7 months, the doctor recommended bed rest due to the baby's size and the risk of premature birth. Emily had to take leave from school early, but the boys took turns caring for her. "Mommy, I brought you water," Tyler would say, carrying a cup with both hands. "And I drew a picture of the babies." Mason would show off his artwork, always with 5 little figures representing the family. Ethan, now 6, had become a little adult, helping Michael with household chores and looking after his younger brothers when their dad had to work. "I'm going to be the best big brother in the world," he declared one day. "I'll protect all of them." "You already are the best big brother in the world," Emily said, kissing his forehead. Michael and Emily's family rallied to help with preparations. Patricia sewed tiny clothes, Margaret came from Long Island to stay for a while and lend a hand, and Michael's brothers took turns offering support. "I've never seen a family so close," Margaret remarked, watching her 3 grandsons play in what would soon be the baby's room. "These boys are even more excited than you are for their little siblings to arrive." At 8 months, during a routine checkup, Dr. Rebecca discovered the babies were in position for birth. "I doubt you'll make it to 40 weeks, she said. "Let's schedule the delivery for next week, just as a precaution." Emily's stomach twisted with nerves and anticipation. After so many years thinking she'd never experience this moment, she was finally about to give birth. "I'm scared," she confessed to Michael that night. Scared of what? That something will go wrong. That I won't be a good mother to 5 children. That, Emily, Michael interrupted. You've been a mother for 4 years already. You're the best mother I know. And these babies are lucky to have you and 3 older brothers who already love them. The night before the scheduled delivery, the 5 of them gathered in Emily's room for a special goodbye to the babies still in her belly. Tomorrow you'll meet your little siblings, she told Ethan, Tyler, and Mason. Will they cry a lot? Mason asked. Probably. Babies cry when they need something. And when they cry, can we help? Tyler wanted to know. Of course, you'll be Mommy and Daddy's most important helpers. Ethan was quieter than usual. Mommy, will you still have time for me, Tyler, and Mason? The question broke Emily's heart. Ethan, my love, you were my first children. Nothing will ever change how much I love you. Mommy's heart is just going to grow bigger, with even more love. Promise. I promise. The delivery was scheduled for Thursday morning. Patricia stayed with the 3 boys who were too excited to go to school. When you come back, will you bring our little brothers and sisters? Mason asked as Michael and Emily left for the hospital. We sure will, Michael promised. At the hospital, after all the preparations, Emily lay on the gurney feeling a mix of nerves and indescribable emotion. Here she was, about to experience the moment a medical diagnosis had denied her 5 years earlier. Ready? Dr. Rebecca asked. I am, Emily replied, squeezing Michael's hand. The first baby was born at 2:37 p.m., crying loudly and healthy. It's a boy, the doctor announced. A boy, Emily repeated in awe, staring at the tiny, perfect little being. The second baby arrived 3 minutes later, also crying and wiggling his little arms and legs. Another boy, the doctor said. Identical twins. Emily Thompson couldn't stop crying. There they were, the children she thought she'd never have. Perfect, healthy, and hers. So they're beautiful, Michael said, his voice choked with emotion. When she finally held both babies, Emily felt a completeness beyond anything she'd ever experienced. It wasn't just about holding her biological children, but knowing that 3 boys who loved her were waiting at home, eager to meet their baby brothers. Ryan and Nathan, she said. Their names will be Ryan and Nathan. Perfect names, Michael agreed. A few hours later, Ethan, Tyler, and Mason arrived at the hospital with Mrs. Patricia. They tiptoed into the room as if entering a sacred temple. They're so tiny, Ethan whispered, watching the babies sleeping in Emily's arms. And they looked the same, Tyler noticed. Can I touch them? Mason asked softly. Of course you can. You're their big brothers. One by one, they gently touched the baby's tiny hands. Ryan opened his little eyes when Ethan spoke to him, as if already recognizing his older brother's voice. Look, Ryan knows me, Ethan said in awe. Ethan. Of course he does. You talk to them every day, remember? That night, Michael stayed at the hospital with Emily and the babies, while Mrs. Patricia took the 3 boys home. They would sleep at their grandparents' house to give their parents some peace in those first few days. 5 children, Emily said, gazing at the twins sleeping in the bassinet beside her bed. 5 children, Michael repeated, still processing it all. Do you regret anything? Not a thing. Not even the infertility diagnosis. Why? Because if I'd gotten pregnant when we first wanted to, we'd never have met Ethan, Tyler, and Mason, and our family wouldn't be as complete as it is now. Emily smiled. He was right. Every pain, every tear, every moment of despair had led to this perfect moment. 3 days later, they came home with Ryan and Nathan. The welcome was emotional. Ethan, Tyler, and Mason had prepared a welcome sign and arranged the baby's room with all the toys they thought appropriate. Welcome to our family, Ethan said solemnly to the newborns. The first months with 5 children were chaotic and wonderful at the same time. Nights were a cycle of feedings, diaper changes, and soothing cries, but there was always one of the older boys ready to help. Mom, Nathan's crying, Tyler would announce, running to their parents' room. Ryan pooped, Mason reported, dramatically holding his nose. Ethan became an expert at calming the babies, singing the same lullabies Emily had sung to him when he first came from Hope Haven. "They stop crying when you sing," Emily observed one day. "It's because I know what it's like to be scared," Ethan replied, with the wisdom of his 6 years. "When you sing, they know they're safe." News of Emily's case spread through the medical community, and she was invited to give talks about her experience. Several newspapers wanted to interview the family, but they chose to keep their privacy. "Our story isn't for show," Emily said. "It's about love and family." Dr. Richardson continued studying the case, fascinated by the unexplained reversal of Emily's condition. "You're helping science better understand the human body," he said during a follow-up visit. "And you helped us better understand love," Emily replied. By their first birthday, Ryan and Nathan were crawling all over the house, always closely followed by their 3 older brothers. Ethan had become the official protector, Tyler was the expert at making the babies laugh, and Mason was the one who loved helping most during bath time. "Our house has turned into a daycare," Michael joked one day, watching the 5 boys playing in the living room. "The best daycare in the world," Emily corrected, her heart overflowing with gratitude. During a routine checkup for the twins, the pediatrician commented on their exceptional development. "They're very advanced for their age," she noted. "I believe it's due to the constant stimulation from their older brothers." "They're always talking to the babies," Emily explained, "singing, telling stories, playing. It's the perfect environment for child development. You have a very special family." Special didn't even begin to cover it. Emily often found herself watching her 5 children and remembering the desperate woman who had left that doctor's office years earlier. That woman could never have imagined the pain of infertility would lead her to an even more incredible journey. "Sometimes I wonder what our life would have been like if I'd gotten pregnant naturally right away," she said to Michael one evening. "We'd probably have 2 or 3 biological kids and never have known Ethan, Tyler, and Mason, and they'd still be at the shelter waiting for a family." "Our family exists exactly as it was meant to," Michael said. Every piece fell into place at the right time. Ethan, now 7, often asked about his story. Emily and Michael had always been honest about the adoption, explaining that some families are formed in different ways. "But we're all real brothers, right?" he asked one day. "You're all real brothers, real sons, a real family," Emily confirmed. "Love doesn't need blood to exist. And the babies, do they know that me, Tyler, and Mason are adopted? To them, you're just their big brothers. They don't know the difference between biological and adopted because there's no difference in love." Tyler and Mason, now 5, had developed distinct personalities. Tyler was artistic and sensitive, always drawing and making up stories. Mason was athletic and adventurous, always running and exploring. Both adored taking care of their younger brothers. "Mom, when I grow up, I want to adopt kids too," Tyler said one day. "And I want to have babies in my belly like you did," Mason added. "You can do both if you want," Emily replied. "What matters is that every child has a family who loves them." Ryan and Nathan, now 2, toddled around the house on unsteady legs, always following their older brothers like little ducklings. They'd developed their own language between them, but responded clearly when their brothers called. "Rye, little Nate, come here," Ethan would call, and they'd run to him immediately. The house in Westchester had grown too small for 7, so they moved to a home in Scarsdale, with a backyard and more bedrooms. The yard became the children's paradise, with swings, a playhouse, and room to run. "Here they can grow up," Michael said, watching his 5 children playing in the garden. "And when they do, they'll know they were raised with so much love," Emily added. Family gatherings were now grand affairs. Margaret had moved to New York City to be closer to her grandchildren, and Patricia practically lived at their house on weekends. "I never imagined I'd have so many grandchildren," Patricia remarked, watching the organized chaos of a Sunday lunch with 5 children. "And such special ones," Margaret added, "each with their own story, but all siblings at heart." During a visit to the shelter for a Christmas party, the boys reunited with Mrs. Dorothy, who was now 67, but still dedicated her life to orphaned children. "Look how much you've grown," she said, hugging Ethan, Tyler, and Mason. "And these must be the miracle babies." "Mrs. Dorothy, these are Ryan and Nathan," Ethan proudly introduced his younger brothers. "And are all of you happy?" "Very happy," Mason replied. "Our family is the best in the world." "I'm sure it is," Mrs. Dorothy said, looking at Emily with tears in her eyes. "You saved them, but they saved you too." It was true. Ethan, Tyler, and Mason hadn't just completed Emily and Michael's family. They had somehow, inexplicably, created the conditions for the biological miracle to happen. Dr. Richardson was still studying Emily's case, now with 3 years of data. "Your story will help other women with similar diagnoses," he said during an annual checkup. "If my experience can give someone hope, then every tear was worth it," Emily replied. "What would you say to a woman who just received an infertility diagnosis?" Emily thought carefully. "I'd say the dream of motherhood can come true in ways you never imagined. That maternal love doesn't depend on 9 months of pregnancy, and sometimes the universe's plans are better than ours." Ethan, now 8, had naturally become the leader of his siblings. He organized games, mediated fights, and always made sure everyone was included. "You're going to be an amazing father one day," Emily told him. "How do you know?" "Because I see how you care for your brothers. You have a big heart, Ethan." "I learned from you and Dad," he replied. "You taught me that family is about taking care of each other." Tyler and Mason, now 6, were in 1st grade and always proudly talked about their 5 brothers when their teacher asked them to draw their families. "My family has 7 people," Mason explained to the class during a presentation. 3 of us were adopted and 2 were born from Mommy's belly, but we're all real siblings. "And Mommy was infertile, but then she got pregnant with the twins," Tyler added. "It's a miracle no doctor can explain." The teachers were always moved by the maturity and love the boys showed when talking about their family. Ryan and Nathan, now 3, were little forces of nature who turned the house into a constant playground. They loved imitating their older brothers and already showed distinct personalities. Ryan was quieter and observant, while Nathan was talkative and playful. "Rafa is just like Tyler," Ethan observed one day. "So he loves drawing and thinking." "And Nathan is just like Mason," Tyler added. "He can't sit still for a minute." "And who am I like?" Ethan asked. "You're like yourself," Emily replied, "unique and special in your own way." The family had found its rhythm. Mornings were chaotic with 5 kids getting ready for school and daycare, but evenings were sacred. After dinner, everyone gathered in the living room for story time, taking turns to tell or read to each other. "This is my favorite part of the day," Michael said one night, watching his 5 children sprawled on the couch as Ethan read a story to the younger ones. "Mine too," Emily agreed. "Moments like these make everything worth it." During Ethan's 5th adoption anniversary, they threw a special party. Ethan had asked to invite some children from the shelter, wanting to share his happiness. "Why did you want to invite them?" Mason asked. "Because I remember what it was like to be there waiting for a family," Ethan explained. "I want them to see what real families look like, so maybe one day they can have their own." The party was heartwarming. The children from the shelter played in the backyard of the new house, and Ethan, Tyler, and Mason made sure everyone felt included. "You have special children," Dorothy remarked to Emily and Michael. "They haven't forgotten where they came from, but they also know the value of what they have." "They taught us that family isn't about blood," Emily replied. "It's about choice and love." Ryan and Nathan watched everything with curiosity. Still too young to fully understand, but already absorbing the values of generosity and love that filled their home. "One day they'll understand our family's story," Michael said, "and they'll be proud to be part of it." "I'm sure they will," Emily agreed. When the family posed for a photo at the end of the party, all 7 of them smiling at the camera, Emily remembered the woman who had once left the doctor's office, believing she'd never be a mother. If someone had told her that day that 5 years later she'd have 5 children and feel completely fulfilled as a mother, she wouldn't have believed it. But there she was, living exactly that. The infertility that had been her greatest pain had become the path to her greatest joy. Ethan, Tyler, and Mason weren't Plan B. They were exactly the children she was meant to have. And Ryan and Nathan weren't just random miracles. They were the icing on the cake of a family that was already complete. "You know what I think?" she said to Michael as they watched the kids playing in the yard. "What?" I think the infertility diagnosis wasn't a medical mistake. It was exactly what needed to happen for our family to come together the right way. You're right, Michael agreed. If you'd gotten pregnant when we first wanted to, maybe we never would have adopted. And Ethan, Tyler, and Mason would be with other families, or worse, still waiting for one. Our family is perfect, exactly as it is. It is. Chaotic, loud, hectic, but perfect. That night, after all 5 children had finally fallen asleep, Emily and Michael sat in the backyard to talk. "Do you regret anything about our journey?" she asked. "Not a thing. Every pain, every tear, every hard moment brought us here. Sometimes I wonder if I can be the mother they deserve." "Emily, you already are. Ethan has become a confident and loving boy. Tyler and Mason have grown up secure and happy. Ryan and Nathan are thriving, surrounded by love. What more could you give them?" "You're right. It's just that sometimes it still feels like a dream. It's a dream that came true. And the best part is, we're still at the beginning. We'll watch these boys grow up, graduate, maybe start families of their own. And who knows, maybe they'll adopt children too. I'm sure they will. They're growing up seeing that family is about love, not blood." Emily smiled, feeling a deep peace in her heart. Her journey to motherhood had been different from what she'd planned, but it had been perfect in its own way. Sitting there in her backyard with 5 children safely asleep inside, she finally understood that some blessings come disguised as losses. Her infertility had been the gift that led her to Ethan, Tyler, and Mason, and the love she'd built with them had somehow, inexplicably, made room for Ryan and Nathan. Science might never fully explain what had happened to her body, but Emily didn't need scientific explanations. She had something far better. A family built on love, determination, and faith that everything happens at the right time. Ethan, Tyler, Mason, Ryan, and Nathan. 5 names representing 5 different miracles, all equally precious in her life. 5 children who made her understand that being a mother had nothing to do with how the children came to you, but rather with the unconditional love you give them. And as Michael held her hand in the quiet backyard, Emily knew her story was living proof that the universe's plans are always better than ours, even when we can't see it in the midst of pain. The end. Now tell me, what did you think of this incredible story of resilience and love? Do you believe love can truly create unexplainable miracles? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories like this one.